Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today I have a review of the Bestech Explorer. This is a very interesting knife, and it's going to be a pretty interesting review. So, let's start off with our blade length measurements and size comparisons. Blade length coming in here just a smidge over 3 inches. That's going to be bad news for some people. You know who you are if that's bad news. I apologize. Actually, before we do our size comparisons, I want to just say that the dimensions on this knife are kind of weird all around. It's about 1/2 inch thick. A little more than 1/2 inch, actually, which isn't, like, terribly thick. But for this knife, this whole knife is just proportioned really, really weirdly, okay? Before we go on with the review, just internalize that information. Very oddly proportioned knife, and that's a theme that'll be coming up frequently. Okay, so now let's do our size comparisons. First of all, there's our Rat 2, and they are pretty similar in length. Line them butt to butt. Pretty similar in length, but the Explorer does manage to look a lot bigger because of those odd proportions. And here's the Rat 1. There we go. Next up, let's grab the Bug Out. Usually I put him on top. We're going to put him here right now. So line up the pivots. There we go. And let's bring out the PM2. Ta-da! Yeah, this is a small knife that feels a lot larger than it is, which I'm not sure is a good thing or a bad thing. There's the Elementum. I think I'm going to start putting the larger size comparison on top, the smaller one on bottom. I think that'll work out better. There we go, Elementum and Praxis. Okay, and to close up size comparisons, I have two Bestech Tontos here with me. My very, very loved Bestech Paladin, and the very weird Bestech Sledgehammer. These two are both weird Tontos from Bestech, but I think the Explorer is a little bit weirder. So, what are we looking at here in terms of materials? So this blade is D2. It's a drop point Tonto. It's a Tonto blade. D2, we have G10 scales over a steel liner, steel pocket clip. This does come in a variety of different colors and options. The black is I think it's black stone wash. It's very, very light black wash. But yeah, let's go ahead and go get into the cutting, shall we? Alrighty, let's talk the Bestech Explorer. This is such a goofy knife. Let's start with the action. The action's fantastic. This flipper tab looks really weird, but you get a lot of leverage off of it. Really, really nice. This big hole, you can thumb flick it. The drop, as you can see, is really good. You can reverse flick it righty. However, the left-hand reverse flick is just excellent. Really, really good on the for lefties. Very nice drop. Yeah, really, really good. How are the ergos? The ergos only work when you hold it with your finger wrapped around there and your thumb up here. And this actually doesn't feel too bad. This is pretty comfortable. If you try going back here, so many issues. The little fish tail digs into your palm. You feel kind of cramped. This corner can be a little bit of an issue. It just, if you're going to be using this, you choke up like that. How does it carry? It's not particularly... Okay, it's a weirdly shaped knife. It's kind of wide here. It's kind of fat there. The clip is Bestech's usual clip, which I think Bestech does great clips. And it actually does work pretty well. This is not going to be a lot of people's favorite thing to carry because this knife is a little bit heavier than you might expect, but the carry's perfectly fine. in my opinion. Okay, let's do some cutting. Just gonna grab this little piece of cardboard. So if you're slicing cardboard, it works okay. This flat grind is not very tall, but, you know, let's do a little bit of... We'll see where that becomes an issue here in a minute. Okay, let's do some pushes. I think it's going to do pretty good here. Yeah, actually it did crunch through that pretty good because of that tanto tip. Good to see that. All right, let's bring out the pool noodle because this is where it's going to get interesting. Yeah, not very good at all. It really just kind of crunched through there. I couldn't get it very thin, and that's because the edge geometry is just not that great. It's so short, and yeah. But let's go back to the table, shall we? Alrighty. Let's get into what I'm liking and not liking about the Bestech Explorer. First of all, the action is really, really nice. We're going to go into my likes first. The first thing I like is that the action is really, really good. Very smooth, very snappy on the open, whether you use the flipper tab, thumb flick it, or reverse flick it. Very good deployment. I will say this knife, if you're left-handed, the reverse flick is excellent. And look how much access you get to the hole right there. As opposed to when you're right-handed, you only get like half the hole. If you're left-handed, yeah, lots of fidgetability. The flipper tab here is really interesting, but having it positioned like this means that you get a lot of leverage. A ton of leverage, and that just fires out really, really nicely. So the action on this knife is, frankly, incredible. This is a very, very good budgety knife action. Whoops. And I'm actually a big fan of it. Okay. Next thing I like is that they give you plenty of access to the liner. As you can see here, you have a very generous cutout. It's nice and chamfered, and you can get to the liner no problem. It's really, really nice. Next thing, the fit and finish is good. It might have come a little bit off center since I've been fidgeting with it. Maybe just a hair, but it was perfectly centered when I got it. No blade play or lock rock. So very, very nicely built. I like the G10 here. I think Bestech uses great quality G10, and I love that they take the extra time to do like neat little milling on the G10. White G10, I have not had too many knives with white G10. I like it. This is kind of gives me Stormtrooper vibes. Really, really cool. I like that a whole lot. And you have a black backspacer. I like backspacers. So yeah, pretty interesting there. Next thing, the pocket clip works great. I think Bestech makes fantastic pocket clips. Not the fanciest looking thing, and I do wish that the screws were flat, but in and out of the pocket, the clip worked perfectly, so I can't really complain, can I? So, yeah. Next thing, the ergos, when you hold the knife like this, are actually pretty comfortable. That's nice. We will revisit ergos later. And this knife is very different. That is the biggest... That's my biggest praise for the knife, is that this is different. I haven't seen anything else out there that looks like this. I mean, this knife looks like a spaceship and a fish all at the same time. You know, maybe it's this that's giving me the fish vibes, but I could definitely see this swimming through the sea. And then I could also see it zipping through space in a Star Wars movie. It's a very unique look. That uniqueness does come with some drawbacks that we will definitely be getting into. But it's a very unique knife. There's nothing like this, and I really do appreciate seeing companies doing weird things, and this is definitely a very weird thing. Okay, so what do I not like so much? This is going to be a much longer list, unfortunately. First thing, if you're holding the knife back here, not up on the flipper choil, not up on this area here, the ergos just aren't very good. As you can see, this little fishy part digs into my hand. You can, if you're running up there, this part of the flipper tab is actually kind of sharp on your finger. Just not the best ergos. Back here for me, the clip becomes an issue. You can see all the like dimples. If I squeeze a knife, see all the little dimples it leaves in my hand. Yeah, not the best ergonomics if you're back like this. Again, if you took up right here, you're pretty good. This jimping is pretty much non-functional because, again, if you're back here, like using that jimping, oh boy, you've got problems. But yeah, not the best ergos. Next thing, this knife is very heavy for its size. Even though there's all this skeletonizing and weight relief, this knife just feels heavy. And I'm not usually someone who talks a lot about weight. I don't mind heavy knives. I've EDC'd a 4 Max. In fact, during the summers, I EDC'd my 4 Max a lot. So I don't really care about weight, but this knife is oddly heavy for its size. It's very dense. It has high specific gravity. It's very weird. It is very weird. I don't know what the weight is exactly. Let me check a website here. What did they say the weight is? 4.5 ounces. Yeah, I believe it. For this small of a knife, that's pretty heavy. It might even be a little bit heavier than, well, let's see here. I have the, where'd it go? Where'd I put that knife? Here we go. This is the Bestech Baglighter XL. It's about 5.5 ounces. I don't know. This one being smaller makes it seem a lot more heavy. It's just very, very weird. So, yeah. I don't think a lot of people are going to enjoy carrying this knife because it's very fat. It's kind of heavy. It's kind of weird shaped. And for 3 inches of blade, I'm not sure it's worth it. So, yeah. Oh, I guess one good thing I could have pointed out is that the sharpening choil is done pretty much perfectly. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, since we're talking about the blade, let's get into it. The performance on this knife just isn't there for me. It's just not a very good performer. Here, the blade comes down to about 17 or 18 thousandths according to my calipers, which is not bad behind the edge reading. Up here, it gets to be about 25 thousandths out towards the tip, which on a Tonto, I'm perfectly fine with if you want to do some scraping stuff. And scraping tasks and opening packages is about all this knife is good for. Even though it is pretty thin here, thinner than you might expect, seeing as how they only had this much room to get down to the edge. So good job, Bestech. You did grind this pretty well for what you gave yourself to work with. The thing is it gets very fat very quick. And then the blade stock is not like Medford thickness, but if we compare it here against the Rat 1, I think it's a little bit thicker than the Rat 1. We could take out my calipers and verify that, but I'm not going to do that right now. Very thick, which means that this knife just does not slice very well. And then this tip up here, you get such a short little Tonto tip, very small, chisel-y, grady, what's the word I'm looking for? Scraping tasks. To me, the blade shape just doesn't work out to be all that useful. Again, just for opening packages where you just have to make one cut through the tape or whatever, it's going to work just fine. It is. But if you want to do anything like break down cardboard, if you want to cut fruit, if you want to cut rope, thicker rope or things like that, anything that has a little bit of resistance to being cut, this is not gonna work. You could see in my cutting test when I was going through the pool noodle is just catching and binding all over this blade, making it very hard to push it through. This is not a knife that I would take exploring with me because it's just not a very good generalist knife. There's not a whole lot that you can do with this. So, yeah. Let's go on to my final conclusion, shall we? What's the price on this knife? Most places have this for $63. Is it worth $63? No. I'm going to come out and say that no, I do not think this is a $63 knife. So, can I recommend this knife? No. I do not recommend this knife for someone who's looking for a good EDC. I don't recommend this knife. Do I like this knife? Yes. I don't know why, but I like this knife. It's... So this is a loaner. This is on loan to me. And I probably will not be picking up one for myself when I send this back, but in the time that I've had this knife, every time I come into my room and it's sitting on my desk, I pick it up, I start playing with it. I'll be sitting here, studying, and flicking with this as I read. Why? I do not know. I do not know. I really don't know. I pick it up. I'd hold it every once in a while. Heck, I went out of my way to use this knife, even though I knew that I did not like the performance, which I don't. The performance on this knife is not good. But every time I saw it, I just want to pick it up and flick it. I just want to pick it up and play with it. And to that end, it's pretty fun because the action is pretty fantastic. The action is really, really good. And so, I don't know, it's just such a weird knife. There are so many things that I should not like about this knife, and I do not like. In fact, something I mentioned that I should have mentioned that I don't like is I'm not a big fan of this flipper tab. It's a little bit sharpish and just kind of ugly and weird looking. But dang it, I love playing with this knife. I love playing with this knife. It is just such an easy knife to play with. The action's great. Access to the lock bar is awesome. I'm losing my mind. This knife is not a good knife. I do not think this is a good knife. But at the same time, I think Bestech kind of knew what they were doing when they built this. I mean, it's a well-made knife. And it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. But I like it. I like it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't recommend this knife for anyone who's looking for a serious EDC. Heck, I even think I think it looks stupid. I think it looks stupid. The performance is not what I like. But I like the knife. I don't know what's wrong with me. I really don't, guys. But that's where I'm going to have to leave you on this review. I do not recommend this knife. But I secretly kind of love it. I guess it's a guilty pleasure type thing. But that's going to be it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, comment below and tell me why not. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.